Okay, so we're back again, and this time we're going to be creating the page that allows the user to change their details that are associated with their account. So anything that they've registered with, we are going to allow them to change. Well, not everything. In this example, we're going to be allowing the user to update their first name, last name, or email address. Now, obviously, within your system, you may have different requirements, so you may have additional fields. This will basically go through updating fields in a way that, if you need to add any more fields to this, then it's going to make it, it's not going to make it difficult. So essentially, what we're doing here is we're updating our database. So we're going to go ahead, and the first step is to create another page. We're then going to create a form that's going to hold all this data, and we're going to pull in the data that's currently associated with this logged in user. And then we're going to submit the form as we usually would. We're going to go through the error checking or the form validation, spit out any errors if there are any, and if everything is okay, then we are going to update the user's details and then tell them everything went okay. So it's more or less the same process as we did with a register page, and we're going to be using a lot of the concepts from the register page and some chunks of code. It's not always good to validate code, but this is a really great way to go back and go over what we've already done if anyone didn't quite understand. And it also gives you the opportunity to look at doing things in a slightly different way, which we'll see inside the function that we're going to use to update users' details. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and create a new page. So I've got this loggedin.php widget open, which is what you see here, and I'm going to be adding a new menu item to this. I may as well go ahead and do it now. So I'm going to create the menu item settings. I guess they're not necessarily settings, it's more like profile information, but this is going to be a general place where we're going to have any kinds of settings. We've obviously already got change password here, which is a page in its own right. Okay, so that's added this here. We obviously don't have this page at the moment, so we need to go ahead and create that. So let's go ahead and open up a page that we already have, that we know needs to have a user access or needs to have a logged in user to be able to access, and that's change password. So remember, we've got includes of core, protecting the page, including the header. So let's go ahead and just copy all of this and be lazy, paste it all over here, and save this out as settings.php. And let's go ahead and get rid of the bits we don't need for now, which will be this and all of this. So we've ended up with including our core file. We're protecting the page against people that aren't logged in, because obviously there's no point updating settings if you're not logged in, or information if you're not logged in. And we're including the header and footer. So let's go ahead and refresh. Click here, nothing. We've got our template, but we haven't got any content, which is to be expected because we haven't placed anything in here yet. So let's go ahead and just start to quickly build this form up, and then we'll go on to the PHP side of things and actually going through and validating this data. So we're going to be allowing the user to update the first name, last name, and email address. So let's go ahead and create a form. So the action is going to be blank. We're going to be passing the data to this page, processing on this page. The method's going to be post. We need an unordered list here, and obviously our list items inside. So in here, the first one's first name. We'll just put a little asterisk there to show that that's required. In fact, yeah. Oops. I've just gone and closed that page. Let's go and open that up again. Settings. Yeah, we'll leave the asterisks in there. And let's go ahead and create the field here. So type equals text. The name for this, we're just going to keep with the same name conventions. So remember, we have first underscore name for name. Let's just go over here to our database. We've got first underscore name, last underscore name, email. So we're going to keep the same names as we did in the initial registration process. So that looks about it for that one. Let's just preview what that looks like at the moment. Brilliant. Let's just go give this a header up here. I haven't done that yet. So I'm just going to call this page settings. Pull that up a bit. There we go. Okay, so we've got the first name in there. Let's essentially just go ahead and duplicate this. Obviously not entirely because we need to modify this. So last name, and then here will be email. I'm going to get rid of these asterisks because they're annoying. So here will be last name, and this will be email. And let's just refresh. Perfect. And last list item will be the submit button. So input type equals submit, and I'm going to give this a value that obviously corresponds to the action, which is going to be update. So now we have the ability to enter first, last name and email address. What we actually need to do is, because the user's already logged in, they will have a first name, they will have a last name stored. Well, they may not do, but you know, that was an optional field. And with email address, they'll have an email address, obviously, because they've gone through the activation process. So what we need to do is inject this data into these form fields so it displays here. There's no good leaving these blank. We're updating our settings, we're not adding any settings. So what we need to do here is we need to say value equals something. So in here what we can do is we can actually utilize, if we go over to core and init, remember here we grabbed all of this user data, so we basically specified the fields that we wanted to grab, and that returned it into this user data array here. So we've got first name, last name and email, so we can use them within our settings page. So I'm going to open PHP tags and close them. Within here I'm going to echo user data. Because it's an array, I use square brackets to access each element, and in here I'm going to say first underscore name. I'll go ahead and I'll copy and paste this. It's going to be a lot quicker this way. And this is obviously last name, and then email is just email. So now what's going to happen when I refresh is that places all of the data that's currently associated with me within these fields, and therefore what I can do is go ahead and change this data and then pass it through to this update process that we're going to create, and then these fields will be updated, and then obviously they'll change again to reflect the current data. So we've done that now. Now what we need to go ahead and do is actually start to validate this information. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to be I'm given the ability to go ahead and type another name in, which is actually my name this time. Click update, and this page just refreshed. Then it was so quick that you didn't see it, but the page refreshed. But that will then take us through to a confirmation message to let us know that it's everything's gone okay. So up here within where we are inside PHP, inside a PHP tag, we need to go ahead and start to validate this. So what I'm going to do is just close any files that I don't need open. Init.php I don't need open, and I'm going to go ahead and open up register. Now the reason I'm opening up register is because register uses some aspects, and we can look at this and how everything's laid out to actually process this successfully. So the first thing we do is check if any if the post data from this form, the array that's been sent by this form or processed, is due to be processed, is not empty. So we need to say if if empty $_post within that is equal to false. That means that we have some data, so we can go ahead and start to process here. Now here we've got this, when we create the registration script, we have this required fields array, which is going to be useful to us now. We have all of the fields are required. In actual fact, I'm going to go ahead and put these asterisks in because it's going to make a lot more sense to the user. Oh, and last name is not required. So we're going to do exactly the same thing here, but I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste what I've already done here. I will quickly run over it just so for anyone that didn't understand this, it's going to be a lot easier for you. So first name and email are required now, last name's not required. So what happens here then? Well, we define this array and place the elements within it, and then we loop through all of the posted data. So we loop through, the first loop will be the first name, last name, then email. Now if it's empty and it's in this array, then that's a problem. So we set an error, and remember this errors array is something that we defined in our init.php file that just holds any errors that we might come across. So we loop through the data and basically check that anything that's required is actually required, and then we go on down here to do some more validation, and that will be in the next part of the video.